Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the elect out there that's pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. This lesson is going to be about dealing with concubines or women from the other nation that aren't Israelites, and what the law says how to deal with them. All right, and this lesson is inspired because I was watching the elder brother out there in Hawaii, Gabar Yahawada. Um, he was doing a lesson on wheats and tares, how you got Edomites that look like Israelites, and vice versa, and along with the other nations as well. Um, and then there's kind of on the comment board there's topics of uh, uh, concubines and whether or not we'd be having them in the kingdom. And the short answer is yes, we're gonna have concubines in the kingdom. But you had this Jake woman concerned because she thought that if we had concubines in the kingdom, then there'd be mingling of seeds again, all over again. But I'm going to clear up that confusion and jump right into it. This is Deuteronomy 17, and I'll start at 16 for a little bit more context. Or, matter of fact, I'll start at 15. It says, "Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother." All right, so he was saying, if you're gonna have a king, let him be an Israelite king, someone from among you, not a stranger from another nation. It says, "But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much the Lord hath said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way." So he's saying the king shouldn't be greedy, right? Don't multiply, horses for the king, and then it goes on to say, "Neither shall he multiply wives to himself." Right? You can multiply wives. You can have multiple wives. It's not, hoarding them for yourself. That is his heart turned not away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. So he can't keep all the riches to himself either. It's just like that. That teammate. Be a team player. All right. Don't be don't be that selfish player. Got to be a team player when it comes to you being a king. All right, because the king is really the most important. Or the most has the most responsibilities, because the king is responsible for everybody under him. It's not being a king isn't about being selfish and getting everything you want. It's taking care of your people. You know, just like here in America, everybody blames the president for how shit is run. Same thing when you're a king. You know, um, but yeah, but people like to use this scripture, neither shall he multiply wives to himself, as like, oh, you can't have multiple wives. Um, but also I wanted to, but that's not the case. You can have multiple wives, just don't be a selfish man. Um, and then they also like to use this one for having wives that are, or having women that are of heathen nation. And this is Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. Alright, so, this was a time period where the Lord was about to, bring them up against these 7 nations. And he says, "And when the Lord thy God, Yahweh, shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. All right. So he's saying, all right, whenever y'all go to war with them, just utterly destroy them. Don't spare any. Don't make marriages or covenants with them, because that's basically what a marriage is. When you give your daughter over to another family for their son to marry, that's a covenant. You're promising that y'all are gonna unify as a family now. You know, um, and take care of each other. And you see that nowadays. You might have one family that owns one restaurant, like an Italian restaurant, and you have this other family that owns like a wing place, right? But then they have two teenagers of opposite sex, and they start dating or courting one another. Those families, they put each other on, with uh, they start sharing clients, right? And they'll give each other free food, whenever their family comes by or whatever. Same thing when but he didn't want us to have that type of relationship with these other nations. All right, because verse 4 it says, "For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly." Going back to that example, let's say that little Italian, he was getting with that woman whose family owned the wing business, right? And let's say that wing business, they're a heathen nation, right? And they had idols. They he, the reason why that Italian restaurant family doesn't want little Joey messing with that chick is because they don't want him to get caught up and go into worship their false idols. That's the reason why the Lord didn't want us uh, to be joined unto them. All right. Um, that's why it says, "But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire." So he was like, "Hey, you better." During this time period, he was like, "Hey, burn their restaurant down. Burn their idols down that they worship, their houses, all their livestock, their, so on and so forth." Um, but this is um, a different uh, time period. This is Deuteronomy 21:10. It says, "When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive." It says, "And seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife." All right, so this is talking about. Now, I want to make this clear too. Um, and during this time period in Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, starting at the top, this was when uh, Israel was a smaller nation, and this was when the Lord was still uh, taking them to the promised land, but they had to go through these other nations and take them over to establish that promised land. You know, but this is talking about more of a defense. Um, this was when Israel was more established, right? Um, this is Deuteronomy 21:10. "When thou goest forth to war," or I already read that. Um, so he's talking about this is when you you captured the enemies and whatnot, and one of these women looked fine, right? It says, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. So, all right. So this is how you deal with them. All right. You just killed her family, right? You shave her head. You trim her nails. Hand nails and fingernails and toenails, right? And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. So you give her time to of mourning. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will. So you take her up, you shave her head, and clip her nails, wait a full month, and you can deal with her like that. She can be your wife then. But if you have no delight in her, whether if she just is an unloyal servant or whatever it may be, she's not you know you may not just like her that much. It says then thou shalt let her go whither she will. Thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. So because you shaved her head and clipped her nails and got with her like that, you can't sell her. All right, but you have to just like let her go. Um, and that's what the law says. All right. Um, I want to grab. I didn't really want that one. What's this number? This is First Kings, chapter 11. I'll start at 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. So Solomon had good taste, right? And this is another example that scoffers like to use, saying we can't deal with other women from other nations. It says, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away. Alright, this is why. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. Alright, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. All right, so that's the reason why. All right, the only reason why the Most High didn't want us dealing with other women is because that they turn us away from our customs. All right, it says, for it came to pass when Solomon was told that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, as his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, and as was the heart of David his father. You know, but David had multiple wives, and concubines, but he was after the Most High's heart, even though he committed that one event of adultery where he had what's his name killed so he could have his wife. That was a wrong act, but he repented from that. You know. I also want to get the account of Ruth. Because Ruth was a Moabite. She was from another nation. Um, let's see. What chapter is it? Is this a chapter 4? Because Ruth was a Moabite, but the Lord permitted it to where uh, Boaz um, could marry her, right? Because the reason for it, I'll start at verse 5. Ruth chapter 4 verse 5, it says, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, Thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Yeah, because let's see, I believe it was it was an Israelite that owned this land and this Ruth, right? She was a servant unto the Israelite that passed away. So they're trying to see what to do with her because she wouldn't leave. She liked dealing with the Israelites, right? It says, and the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. So he's talking. Boaz was talking to the kinsman of the Israelite who passed away. They're like, we can't really take it unless you know it would be too much for us to take care of her and our own land. So you can just have it. So now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chalon's and Malon's of the hand of Naomi. Uh, Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Malone, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. So he purchased, the former wife of Malone, who Malone passed away, right? And it says that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and Leah. Because Rachel and Leah were also concubines of Jacob, which two did build the house of Israel, right? And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of his young woman, right? Of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. So right then and there, right? That's one example of, the Lord allowing uh, us to have wives or have deal with other women, is because they were doing it in a righteous fashion. They weren't departing from the Lord. They weren't departing from the customs. They were keeping everything within Israel. And then when they had a son by Ruth, they gave the inheritance, to rightfully to the son, right? Unlike, you read Judges, the 11th chapter, where Jephthah was born of a strange woman, and his younger brothers ended up overthrowing him, because they were like, oh, he's born of a strange woman. We don't want to deal with him. That's a wicked thing to do. But later on, Jephthah, got his blessing because they found out that they needed Jephthah for war. But long, just to summarize, this lesson, you can deal with uh, um, uh, what? Matter of fact, I want to hammer it home with this. This is Psalms 2:8. It says, "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." So yeah, we're gonna be dealing. We're gonna be owning these heathen as an inheritance, all right, and rightfully so. We're gonna have the uttermost parts of the earth for our possession, all right. But the only reason why the Lord didn't want us dealing with the heathen was to go because he was afraid that we were going to go off, which we did. All right, but now we're coming back to him. It's like Ezra the 9th chapter. I'll grab this too. Because Ezra 9 and 2, for they have taken their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yeah, the hand of the princes and rulers hath been chief in this trespass. Alright, so, at one point in time, and throughout, I'll say throughout time, Israel liked to deal with the other nations. They would leave the Most High, go after these women, and practice their customs, right? But then you also had Israelites that would put off those customs and return unto Israel and start, practicing the righteous acts. But yeah, that's basically it. And that's what we're coming into, all right? When the new covenant is established and those laws and statutes are written on our inward parts, then there won't be need of this talk, all right? It's just we're gonna be dealing with other women, all right? We're gonna be dealing with whoever we please, all right? And we're not gonna we're not gonna be going off because of it, all right? Matter of fact, grab Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10. It says, "For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest." All right, so in the kingdom, when Israelites are dealing with these other women, we won't have to be like, hey, be careful. They might, try to turn you into an idol worshiper. All right, why? Because I'll get another one. This is Isaiah the 2nd chapter. This is also when the kingdom is established. Isaiah chapter 2, I'll start at the top, or start at verse 2. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and the nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, or the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in the paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." And that's another thing, when we read in Ruth, all right, another reason why the Lord allowed it to where Ruth could be a wife of an Israelite is because she was, down with the Israelite customs. She was okay with being, a lesser wife, all right? She was okay with being under the authority of Israelites, all right? Just like that, that scripture that says, when the wicked are in rulership, the earth mourns, but when the righteous are in rulership, the earth rejoices. Well, Ruth was rejoicing that she was getting, being ruled over by Boaz, right? And that's how it's going to be in the kingdom according to Isaiah the 2nd chapter, all right? So, long story short, yes, we're going to be dealing with, these other women, and they're going to be liking it too. And even our own women are going to be liking it too, because those other women are going to be their servants just as much they are our servants, all right? Not in a sexually way, of course, how we're going to be doing it. But, they're going to be these other nations are going to be a help to our women as well, Our women won't have to be cooking. They'll just point fingers and be like, add this much of this, and sitting back and telling them what to do. But hope, Lord willing, this video was edifying. And, Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakudash. Again, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And peace and bless to the elect out there that's pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. Shalom.